school, the first board meeting of the school year. The first item on the agenda, to approve the minutes of the 18th and the July 23rd, 2024. So, Governor Gibson has moved for approval. Is there a second? Second by Governor Oplott. The minutes from those two meetings stand approved. Next, we will move into the reports. Dr. Van Galen, welcome. Our first official meeting with him as our new president, and you'll notice changed up the order of the agenda some. So, new order, familiar people and familiar content. So, hand it over to Dr. Van Galen.
Thank you, Governor Hirschaway. I want to begin by thanking the Board of Governors and the campus for a very warm welcome. I'm simply delighted to be at Missouri Southern and know that this university has a very bright future. There's a written report that I will walk through, and then we'll end with a short video. So a bit of historical perspective. It's interesting when you live during a historic time. It's sometimes difficult to see that you're in the middle of it, but that's what we are. With the COVID-19 pandemic, that impact has impacted our campus and higher education in very unprecedented ways. I'm very proud of our campus, which by and large has achieved our goal after 5 weeks of instruction, which is to provide as much in-person engaging experiences for our students as possible in a safe manner that keeps our faculty, staff, and students and community safe. We have a great deal to be proud of, and I know that this is very much appreciated by so many of our students. I also want to acknowledge the work of the COVID-19 Task Force, with special thanks to Vice President Darren Fullerton and also Julie Stamps, who is not here, but she's the director of the Wilcoxon Health Center, for their truly amazing commitment and everyone that's been involved in helping us guide our campus through a very difficult time. There's been a great deal of flexibility, patience, and adaptability from many on our campus. I think a key element of our success so far is campus culture. We've really encouraged our students and everyone to create a campus culture of care, caring for ourselves, those around us, and those we may not meet. And I think that has really sustained us well to this point during this academic year. A little bit about university budget. I want to express my appreciation to the Board of Governors for their actions on July 23rd in approving the current fiscal year budget. Thanks to those actions, some of which have been difficult, including furloughs for many of our employees, our budget situation is manageable at this point. We are now making some difficult decisions to help ensure the longer-term success and viability of Missouri Southern. I also want to thank the faculty, staff, and staff Senate leaders who were engaged in this process very early during July, who actually helped shape and influence some of the recommendations we brought to the Board of Governors. A little bit in the area of external relations. It's clear to me over the last 2.5 months that Missouri Southern is a tremendous and valued asset to the 4 states region and beyond. I've had the opportunity to meet with Governor Parson, our legislative delegation, business leaders, educational partners, and many in the community. I can tell you this university has extraordinarily strong support from the people of this region. They want to continue to work with the university to advance this part of the country, and that's especially true in the case of the development of talent and workforce for the regional economy. Also, I want to thank the Missouri Southern Foundation for a warm welcome and a strong interest in working with the university to identify fundraising priorities and to work towards the university's first comprehensive fundraising campaign. I think we all understand that charitable gifts are becoming more and more important to the university's future in terms of scholarships, support of academic programs, athletic, capital projects, and other important initiatives. Provost Carson will have more to say in a bit about the theme semester, which is a wonderful tradition of Missouri Southern, but this semester is the Caribbean, and there are many activities going on, a number of which are virtual. I think this is really a visible demonstration of our commitment to international education. Next, a very special moment occurred earlier this month where we had Floyd and Jane whisk to campus. Floyd and Jane are Joplin residents, longtime supporters of Missouri Southern. They moved to Joplin over 50 years ago, and for many years managed the Thunderbird Motel on Rangeline. It's not typical that we invite people to campus under false pretenses, but that day we did, because we told them they were there to give us some feedback on basketball attendance, because they are huge Lion basketball fans. And the idea was that we worked with their daughter and invited them to campus to surprise them with the announcement of a new endowed scholarship to honor Floyd and Jane. So their daughter Maria was there along with her husband. It was a really special moment that I think just captured what is great about Missouri Southern. That endowed scholarship will honor the WISs and will also provide support for students for many, many years to come. So really a special moment. A bit about the future. Communication and engagement are vitally important always at a university, but especially during these times. President's Cabinet and I will continue to have town hall meetings and try to communicate well to campus over the coming months. Also, I'll be hosting some small groups as possible, including the newly tenured faculty, the Service Champ Award representatives, our recipients, and tonight I'll be visiting the Women in Science Club. I appreciate everyone's help in helping me learn more about campus, the culture, the opportunities, and the people. During these times, it's so easy to focus on the immediate, what's in front of us, and there's so much of that now during COVID-19. But it's also important this academic year to think about the future. And at the welcome meeting in August, I shared a few thoughts, a few areas that I thought are important priorities for Missouri Southern in the months and years ahead. Those are listed in the report, but I'll just walk through a few of them. Certainly our strategic plan as a guide, as a roadmap for the university's future. A focus on the student experience and success. We are here fundamentally to help our students learn, develop, and succeed. Student recruitment is a critical issue and challenge for the university that needs focus. Diversity and inclusion, including ways that we can over time diversify our workforce, our faculty and staff on campus. Philanthropic support, supporting our faculty and staff, and the role of Empowering You, which is a unique tool and asset within higher education to help us make wise decisions. Our mission, we have a noble mission to educate and graduate knowledgeable, responsible, successful global citizens. Everyone in this room, everyone on this campus plays an important role in that noble mission. We positively impact over 5,000 students every day. This university has great promise, and I look forward to working with many others in the future. As always, Lions together. Finally, we'll wrap up my report in a somewhat unique way. On August 14th, we had the all-employee welcome back meeting, which is a tradition. It was modified this year, fewer people in Leggett and Platt, many people online. But I was looking for music to share during this unique time in history that would conclude the meeting on a positive note. So if you Google songs that have been penned during the COVID-19 period, you'll find that a number of artists have used music to channel their feelings of isolation, overcoming fear, and the ties that bind us together, even when we're largely apart. For purposes of the Welcome Back gathering, we went with Do What You Can, which is a track from Bon Jovi's upcoming album, 2020. A little bit of background. During the initial days and weeks of the pandemic, John Bon Jovi spent time helping feed those in need at his restaurant at Red Bank, New Jersey. His wife shared an Instagram post of him washing dishes in the kitchen, captioned, "If you can't do what you do, do what you can." Like many artists, he had to cancel plans to tour the country and was inspired by that caption to write a song, Do What You Can, which was completed the following day. When you can't do what you do what you can. It's a simple message, but one that fits within the context of the challenges we face here at Missouri Southern and in all of our lives. This semester doesn't look like those before it, but our mission, our vision, our values remain unchanged. So today I conclude my report with do what you can.
One, two, three.
No, the pandemic cannot stop us.
So love yourself and love your family. Love your neighbor and your friend. Anytime we love the stranger, they're just a friend you ain't met yet. We're gonna get through this together until I see you once again. When you can't do what you do what you can. This ain't my prayer, it's just a thought I'm wanting to send. Round here we bend but don't break. Down here we all understand. You can do what you do what you can. When you can do what you do what you can.
Thank you, Dr. Van Galen. Our first board meeting, and we had Bon Jovi and Van Galen. Are there any questions from the board for Dr. Van Galen? I hear none, so thank you for your report, and we will move next to the report from the Executive Vice President, Dr. Hodson. Thank you.
Good afternoon. You have a copy of my report in your packet. First, speaking about fall 2020 enrollment, we ended last Friday, Census Day, with 744 first-time freshmen and 462 first-time transfer students. And while we're very pleased that that is a very, very modest increase, it's important to note that we hit our institutional high point for those two numbers 4 years ago with our record enrollment in the fall of 2016, 1,057 freshmen and 667 transfers. And so while we're pleased with the increase, we continue to work our way back towards those historic highs as our goal, not only for the institution's strategic plan, but just within the Office of Admissions. You can see in that chart at the bottom, the public Missouri universities shared with one another their enrollment data on the first day of classes. So these are not census numbers. These are 4 weeks prior to census on the first day of our class, and then Central, Mizzou, SEMO, Missouri State all shared their first day of semester numbers as well. And you can see that Missouri Southern was the only institution to report on that day an increase in both new freshmen and new transfer students. And it also gives you a sense of the challenges faced by our peers across the state. So now our attention is focused in the Office of Admissions from the 20th day, fall 2020, to fall of 2021, and there are a number of strategies that we're working on that will benefit not only recruitment of new students, but in many cases the retention of existing students, and we're excited to begin putting those strategies in place very quickly. On the back page, and you'll see a picture there, but we have her live and in person. Shelley, if you would stand up. I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Shelley Hewitt, who is the new Dean of Admissions at Missouri Southern. Dr. Hewitt comes to us from the University of Central Missouri, where she spent the last 12 years in enrollment management. And prior to that, she had a 14-year career in the United States Air Force. And so please help me welcome Dr. Shelley Hewitt. You can also see some information there about our charitable giving for fiscal year 2020, which ended on June 30th, and some gifts that have come in. And then I also do want to acknowledge, in the video you just saw as one small part of that, but the work done by Heather Lesmeister and her team in University Relations and Marketing in communicating during a very difficult time about things that are not fun to talk about, like masks and limitations on gatherings and moving back onto campus, but they've done a fantastic job. I'm sure Darren and the committee would echo that, but we do appreciate their work.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. Are there any questions from the board from Dr. Hudson?
Dr. Hudson, I noticed on your chart on the front, Missouri Western didn't report.
It was a voluntary submission in Missouri Western, and you'll note Truman chose not to fully report. Truman did provide us with a percentage, but no, Western opted out this year.
Okay. Thank you.
I would just note, I'm pleased that we're up against our competitors in at least two areas, although the being down since 2017 is a disappointment. But I would also note, and I appreciate the work of Dr. Hodgson and his team and everybody at the university, that at least when we met in July to set the budget, and we set the budget, anticipating a 10% drop, that was a goal that Governor Haley set for us, and I appreciate the fact in your work you did to get a little bit above that at least, or below that, however way you're moving it in the right direction, and I know you are focused like a laser on our strategic plan and enrollment over the next several years. Thank
Well, and
you.
I want to note hitting that budget target is a collaborative effort across campus, but most notably between admissions and student affairs, and we all worked very hard towards that.
Thank you very much, yes. Okay, moving on now to our Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, a report from Dr. Carson.
Thank you all so much. It's great to be here with you. When I first started putting together the report, I wasn't quite sure. It feels like we're just so immersed daily in COVID and pandemic and trying to respond and predict. I wasn't sure if we had done a whole lot strategic or significant of note in the last few months. And so I just started brainstorming and was able to put together this report, which is a little bit longer than normal, but I just think it's reassuring to demonstrate that even during these very atypical, historically unique times, we're able to continue to do the things that make us special and differentiated and a preferred institution of higher education for our students. So there is much in these 2 pages. I will just go quickly through some of the highlights and then just leave the remaining detail for you to read. We are rebuilding our theater department. We've been working on that for a couple years. We're very, very excited about that. We're thrilled at the collaboration, our musical theater development, all the different things we're doing in that department just to make it more vibrant and viable all the time. This semester, we have 2 productions that we have planned, and they're part of the academic experience for our students, and we're going to continue to have those. The first is Nevermore, and it is opening in the end of October. Because of our limitation on external visitors, we're not able to have the normal audience members, either in terms of size or scope, to attend. And so our students will not be able to have their parents or other family members external to our campus in order to keep it most safe. So the reason I list this first is we have the dates there. I want to specifically invite you all as governors and internal stakeholders of our campus and not considered external guests to attend if you can one of these productions. It's really important for our students to have the experience to be able to perform in front of a live audience, and if you were able to make it, we would all very much appreciate it. It's a little description of the show there. Promises to be a very good show. Every year I like to provide an update on our honors program. Their numbers are here. The outstanding incoming credentials of our students are there as well. There is one unique area that I wanted to focus on with regard to the honors program. We talk a lot about 2+2s with community college associate level degrees, processing on to complete a baccalaureate degree. But Dr. Howarth and the honors program have forged unique 2+2s with students in the honors programs at community colleges in all of our neighboring states. So actually, travel to these places. We have signing ceremonies, 2+2 articulations. We recognize the honors work that students have done in these community colleges. We let it count for completion of an honors degree here in our university, and it's been really a productive way for us to be able to recruit really outstanding, high-achieving students. And so our most recent one, we literally did this, I think, I think when we got back to Joplin, the decision had been made for us to pivot to distance learning and shutter the physical presence on campus. But the very last one we did in March was with NEO. And so that completes the last one that we want to do, that we have lined up and we'll do as soon as the pandemic conditions allow, is with Coffeyville Community College. So it's really a delight to give these students an opportunity to participate in the program and yield the benefits there, but also to continue on and have that work recognized by us. As President Van Galen indicated, this is the third year in a row that our theme semester is focusing on a region and not just a specific country. Works very, very well for us, and it's the way it's turned out. This is the Caribbean region. Of course, as you all might remember, our students typically travel to the region to work on art gallery exhibits and other forms of student products related to the theme semester. The summer prior, our students were not able to do that. So, for example, our art gallery exhibition this year was entitled "We Wish We Were There." So, as opposed to the normal. So, but we are, and I'm very thankful to the international team and to Chad Stabbins for continuing to put together a program. We have 31 events, and 19 of those events can be accessed digitally or remotely through Zoom. We also have 9 films. We are having some live presentations here, individuals that have to come here to demonstrate effectively what they're doing. But these are some of the topics that we are focusing on. Right now, the art team just finished a couple of days ago a contribution to the Nadia Huggins exhibition. She's a photographer from the Caribbean who does a lot of underwater photography work. It is over there right now. But our campus members, faculty, staff, and students participated to create a virtual aquarium on the exterior wall of the art gallery. The music department is putting together some original compositions. The English department is contributing with the book club. So that is still very vibrant and very much we're very dedicated to make sure we could continue that as much as we possibly could in the original tradition. And so I'm really thankful to all those who have attended and all those who have organized. The next little section is, I think, some unique things we're doing in the time of COVID. Our intensive English program faculty members have developed a relationship with the Congregation of the Mother of the Redeemer. That is the seminary where Marian Days is hosted. And we had been speaking with them about doing some actual for credit courses, tuition-based courses in English for the individuals who are traveling here from other countries to learn English. And because that was limited with the COVID, there was a pretty small number to actually make a class for English for the individuals coming to study there. And so we had a couple of faculty members who actually just volunteered to do that. There's only 4 members of the faith who were there who were limited in their English. And so we have a couple of faculty members and also Dr. Stebbins, who is traveling out there on a regular basis to teach them English. We hope eventually this will develop into an actual for-credit academic offering, but for right now, it's something that we can do and we want to do, and we're really pleased to be able to do it. And it may actually allow us an opportunity to have a physical recruiting presence at Marian Days, which obviously would be huge. We have people coming from all over the country, all over the world to Marian Days. So I'm just very glad to have the opportunity to show that our faculty are able to give whatever it is they can give. They get no workload credit. They get nothing for it. They're just hoping to build a recruiting stream. Same with Dr. Pennings. I think that in the last couple of days, I didn't really anticipate the amount of media attention that Dr. Pennings Trail project would get. So, and my report was printed, so it was too late to take it out, but obviously you are aware of that. Dr. Penning, better known as the Snake Guy, we talk about him a lot, his research a lot, did a couple of things. In some ways, some of our faculty were more fortunate than others in the pandemic to be able to continue scholarly streams of work on the outside in ways that could be socially distanced. And I guess when you work with snakes, social distancing just is sort of a natural thing. But he took a group of students on a regular basis to Carthage, to Kellogg Lake. It started as just a little family exercise for him, and he noted a species of snake that David Penning, if you will, has discovered a lot of species in Missouri, and only because they've been here, but no one's documented it. So, these are not new species, but he discovered an undocumented species in Kellogg Lake, made note of it, and that led one thing to the next, and he ended up taking a whole group of students down to identify species. They collected 150 samples of 150 different species, many of which had not been documented as being present in Missouri for decades, for maybe forever. So it's a really good project for our students, really good project for the conservation community. That was funny. Every time he went down there and the students were waiting about in Kellogg Lake, they would get stopped by the police or Wildlife and Fisheries and have to show their permits because no one really thought anybody would be up to any good out there waiting around Kellogg Lake. This semester, a big project he's working on, he has set up a GoFundMe and sort of donation list. He is a student who's working closely with to actually clean the trail around the biology pond, which maybe many of you never knew there was even a trail. It's a 300-meter trail around the biology pond. It will be used for academic purposes, but also recreational purposes. They've been working on it, I think, 3 or 4 weeks now and have maybe gotten 10 yards. So it is well overgrown. They're trying to manage the invasive species, pull them out, but trying to work on that. And it's gained a great deal of momentum and obviously media interest. And so we're really pleased about that. I'm spotlighting social sciences as a department. They have a lot of things coming up. Constitution Day, I wanted to be sure to invite you to, is tomorrow from 11 to 1. Because of the bicentennial of Missouri, we are focusing on the 200th anniversary of the Missouri Compromise with a presentation and a panel. As you all recall, I've talked about this before. We are also really focusing this year on student civic engagement in terms of voting. Registering for voting and participating in and actually going to voting, voter turnout. So we have many faculty who are working very diligently on that. I described that there. Our strategic planning task force to get a view of where we are right now has been put together, and we will be meeting to see what we've accomplished over the past year. We know we have not accomplished all that we hoped to, and it was impossible to do so given COVID and the pandemic, but we know we have accomplished some things, and so we will be compiling that report. Our dual credit continues to really thrive. We're continuing to grow. Right now on campus, 4.5% of all credit hours, student credit hours at the undergraduate level are dual credit students, and 11% of our total head count is dual credit students. And so it's really huge, significant. We're continuing to invest in it's very good collaboration and partnership that we have. And finally, our law enforcement academy was awarded a $71,000 grant to do training for law enforcement officials in driving traffic related, such as DWI, safe stops, and the like. So I'd like to congratulate Law Enforcement Academy on continuing to do what they're doing and training street-ready officers, but also in engaging in the scholarly work and professional development.
Are there any questions for Dr. Carson about her report, the board?
Yeah, one question, Dr. Carson. You talked about their dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment and dual credit hours and numbers, so that's positive numbers. Do we have an anticipated goal of how many of those students will convert over to first-time freshmen?
Yeah, I have a goal of about 100%. And it is something we trace. It is something we are working on. Obviously, the students who are pursuing that program are typically very high achieving with ACT scores much higher, and so on, a lot of choices, a lot of options, looking at a lot of different places. But it is something we track. We are, our trajectory is upward. We are attracting more and more academically qualified, academically prepared. That's, at the same time, we are losing a percentage of Pell population, which impacts our eligibility for some other things. So the academic preparation of our incoming class is always changing and always improving, but we're not satisfied yet. I mean, obviously, everything we do we try to become educational institution of choice, a preference institution. So it's what we're going for, and hope to get more and more because I think it's a really good recruiting tool.
Good.
And then you do have also in your packets, our new faculty. Very pleased to welcome 27 new faculty actually from all over the country, very well qualified, and we're happy to introduce them. And then also our years of service recognition that we give out those awards at the incoming faculty meeting, but things have been a little different this year. So this is our first opportunity to show you those as well.
And I would just note before we move on that Dr. Hackett is in the audience, and I've been on the board for 5 years. I don't think I've ever been in a meeting that Dr. Hackett hasn't also been present. He's been with the university for 20 years long, and we appreciate it in your 20 years, and to all the recipients, the 15, 20, and 25. And if anybody else is here, I'm sorry I don't recognize you. But
They don't, well, they all have their mats.
yeah. But thank you for your service, Dr. Hackett and everybody else. So that will conclude academic affairs, and next we will move on to our VP for Student Affairs, Dr. Fuller, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you, Governor Hirschway. Dr. Van Galen and Dr. Carson have already referenced COVID, and many of the people in this room serve on that COVID task force. I think there are people on this campus that not only eat, sleep, breathe, but have nightmares about COVID. And I know Governor Gibson's going to talk about that, so I'll keep our comments short. I do encourage you to go out to the dashboard. We're updating the Southern dashboard, COVID dashboard, usually in the afternoon on Monday, I believe, from Heather Lesmeister's team. And the reason for that is because we're testing on average about 20 to 25 people per day through the health center. That's the average of what is being tested at. We're actually above average for the universities in the area of what they're testing. And so by the time that we get those numbers back, or the weekend numbers, it takes us time on Monday to get those updated. Some of the challenges that the task force is having to deal with is that it is the wild, wild west, especially in the Midwest here. There are no restrictions in the state of Missouri. The MIAA has restrictions for us. NCA has some restrictions for us. We as an institution have taken safety precautions and made restrictions. But people are going out in the community and they're not seeing those same restrictions at their public school or their community center or their gymnasium or those sort of things. And so those are the type of issues, comments, questions that the task force is dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so I just put the task force members' names on there. I know you've seen those, and they're in the return publication that's on the website, but I just want to make sure that you know those people are still diligently working. We did give them this week off, but we sent them an email with homework, and so they're not getting total release. But Dr. Van Galen talked about the student experience also, and in the black area on the top of the report, I just wanted to point out a couple of our modified student events. We are still trying to provide quality, not only educational, but extracurricular activities for those students and to make them feel a part of Missouri Southern. The first year student convocation, normally that is our front bookend to commencement. We normally invite parents and the grandparents and the students. This year it was students only, but over almost 260 students participated. They were all wearing masks, they were all socially distanced, but they were able to hear Dr. Van Galen speak. They were able to cross the stage and receive their medallion and hear about the traditions of Missouri Southern. And so, again, we're trying to give them that same quality experience during COVID. Phi Eta Sigma, I'm happy to say 76 students were inducted last week into our first-year honor society. Membership is open to first-year students with a GPA of at least a 3.5 on our 4.0 scale at the end of one full academic year. And so we were proud to induct 76 of those students into that honor society. Project Stay information there, just to give you an update, we were, our TRIO programs are our federal programs, and we have 3 of those. Project Stay on other campuses is known as Student Support Services. We have Upward Bound, and we have Educational Talent Search. Those are all on 5-year cycles, and we have to reapply for those grants. For Project Stay, we were notified in August that we were awarded another 5-year cycle for that. That'll be $294,000, almost $295,000 a year, for a total of almost $1.5 million over the 5-year cycle. And so that program is set up to help our first-generation students. We offer tutoring, we offer grants, in different things for Missouri Southern students with that particular program. So we're excited that that's another opportunity. By the numbers, I will leave those for you to peruse. We've already talked multiple times about enrollment. That was our total head count and credit hour enrollment. But I thought you might want to see, these are not final numbers by any means as far as financial aid distributions, because we're still awarding aid as students get paperwork in. This is what had been distributed as of Monday of this week. So federal financial aid, over $11 million. State financial aid of over $1 million. And I think Rob will be happy with the last bullet down there, 3308. So over 3,000 of our students have their account balances paid within $50 or less. We're working on it. We're working on it. I'm not mentioning the trail project, but with that, I would take any questions. Kevin Hurst.
Have any questions for Mr. Fullerton? I, on behalf of the board, want to thank the task force members and you especially for leading that task force this semester. It's obviously been very important, and here we are in person on campus, and we appreciate your work and the work of all the task force. Thank you. Thank you for your report. So we'll move on now and hear from the Vice President for Business Affairs, Mr. Hughes.
Look at the two construction projects we currently have going on our campus. It's odd to think we have construction going on during the pandemic and a deficit budget, but these projects are funded elsewhere. Good thing. Residence Hall is as I said in the past, divided into 3 sections, A, B, C. It goes from east to west. And framing has reached the 4th level on section C, and they're beginning to install the roof on that section. Wall frames are in sections A and B have started. Rough-in plumbing in all sections have been continuing. So we are progressing quite well on that project. Still plan on being completed next summer for fall of 21. Our one and only trail project, as Mr. Fullerton was nice enough to mention on my behalf, is winding down. So it's a great thing. And the actual trail itself is, for the most part, complete. I actually walked it the other day, believe it or not. Walked from here to the theater in a movie and came back, and it was really good. So it will be complete in a matter of weeks, and we will be installing lights, hopefully within a month, cameras, so make it secure, and we'll try to have an official ribbon. Dr. Van Galen mentioned to me that when that happens, we will all walk. He will treat us all to it. Welcome in the audience, and we'll do that sometime in the next month or so. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Hughes? I thought I got a little excited when I thought I heard Dr. Carson mention some kind of trail project, so
Yeah,
maybe you're handing it
off. About that one. Yeah. That's a different one. That one won't take a decade.
Student-led initiatives. Thank you, Mr. Hughes, and we'll move next to our athletic director's report, and Ms. Corey Reed's here today to deliver that.
Thank you all for having me. As you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has greatly affected our department and our student athletes. As I'm sure most of you are well aware, the NCAA did announce the cancellation of fall sports championships for the 2020 season. Following that announcement, they put forth that they were going to issue a blanket waiver that all of those fall student athletes would be able to apply for, to give them an extra season of eligibility should they so choose to use that. So that's kept our compliance director busy with that. Following the NCAA announcement, the MIAA announced the postponement of all of fall sports. Right now, winter and spring are to continue as planned. We will receive an update on that by October 1st as far as winter sports are concerned, but we are hoping to be able to have some competitions here in the near future. Some positive news that have happened recently. We did have 58 student athletes earn the Division II Athletic Directors Association Academic Achievement Award, which is the second year in a row that we've had 58 student athletes earn that honor. The Wisses family would have been happy to know also that we ranked in the top 10 for Division II with basketball attendance as well. The men ranked 7th nationally and the women ranked 9th. As you can see, the men averaged just over 1,800 fans per game, while the women averaged just under 1,300 each time. So that was some positive news, and we'd like to keep those streaks alive this next year. On the second page, our SAC officers for the 2021 year have been selected. They had their first meeting of the school year last night, and that is a group that we will rely on heavily during this time to help us understand what our student athlete needs are and how we can help them through this time. So that will be an important group for us this year. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Ms. Reed about the athletic report? Governor Gibson?
Or how many linebacker memberships do we normally have?
I believe this time of year, I think we would probably be close to 200 at this point.
So we're down
So we are down on those.
substantially. Any idea on, other than playing sports, besides that idea,
Right.
but you're welcome for that one. Any other ideas for recruitment? I know that's not specifically in
Right.
the athletic department, but certainly you're close enough.
In discussions with Alyssa Bryant, who handles that for us, I think a lot of our supporters were sort of waiting to see what announcements come out as far as basketball season and the spring sports. I think that's the feedback we've received.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your report. And now, an all-time favorite, Ms. Ice will deliver the treasurer's report.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon. One of the first things I want to talk about is obviously our annual audit, and that is progressing very smoothly. BKD did the work remotely and on campus in August, and then they returned a little bit later in August. They have received some information. We always receive a federal supplemental compliance information where they come back and they look through some additional financial aid and student records. I am pleased to say at this time, there are no concerns with financial aid or on the finance side of the house. However, we are still waiting on the supplement for the CARES money. And we still anticipate that coming in timely, that we'll be able to still present the annual audit at the November 18th board meeting. Of course, it's dependent on when they can do the review of the CARES funding. We ended FY20 with cash of about $11.9 million, and compared to the prior year, that was a decrease of about $1.7 million. So now we'll move on to the current year, fiscal year 2021, and we'll look at the financial statements as of August 31st of 2020. The cash graph reflects that we currently have cash of $11.1 million, and this is about $700,000 less than what we had in the prior year. I always do take a look at the bank balance on the day of the board meeting, and we have a little over $22 million in there. And a big piece of that is, as Darren was talking about, all the financial aid that has flowed through, that has come in and paid for student accounts, as well as the refunds back to the students. And it is significant dollars that run through those accounts to be able to pay for the tuition and then offer those refunds back to the students. Moving on to the statement of net position, we have total assets of $191 million. We have total liabilities of $128 million, and this gives us net assets of $63 million. Also in September, we also make our bond payment that is due in September, and that was a $3.4 million payment that we made in September for the bonds for this year. The next payment will be due in March. We move on to the comparative statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. We have total operating revenues, a decrease over the prior year of about $1.6 million. We have total operating expenses that have increased a little over $380,000. We have non-operating revenue that shows an increase of a little over $1 million. Within there, obviously the state appropriations that we have talked about. Last year, the withholdings came in the final quarter of the year. This year, the withholdings that they're doing will be monthly. So you'll see a little bit of decrease as we move along. And then hopefully, if everything holds steady, we'll make some of that back up as we end towards the end of FY21. Income before the revenues, the current year is showing a $14.9 million increase. The prior year had a $15.7 million increase. And so between the 2 years, we have a decrease from the prior year of about $780,000. I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Zeiss about her report? Her report we do need to approve as a board, so I would entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
I hear a motion by Governor Haley.
Yes.
Second from Governor O'Plotnett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Thank you, Ms. Ice. Next is our Faculty Senate President, Dr. Gunter.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me, as always. This past Monday, we had our first Faculty Senate meeting, although it seems like we're much farther into the year than we actually are. At our meeting, we discussed the ongoing intellectual property agreement, and in order to accomplish this task, I've created an ad hoc committee to rewrite the proposal with the feedback from Dr. Carson, the Truman policy we base it off of, as well as our legal counsel. Additionally, we solicited feedback from senators regarding faculty load and compensation, as well as the faculty grievance procedure. Upon collection of this data, I will formally make charges to the appropriate committees. And lastly, I notified the Faculty Senate of the creation of the proposal for the Strategic Academic Task Force. This follows a charge given to us by Dr. Van Galen and Dr. Carson. And in response, we provided the included proposed charge as well as a list of proposed faculty members to serve on that committee. And we'll just move forward as we need to on that. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions, Dr. Gunderman? Well, I too feel like it's been a longer year than this, but also was excited to be on campus and see students today. And I really appreciate you and all the faculty and the unseen work you do face-to-face with the students every day. It's part of the mission Dr. Van Galen went over, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Gunderman.
Thank you so much.
The Staff Senate now, from the report from Ms. Scow-Smith. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Staff Senate set a few goals for this academic year, two of which came from last fall's staff survey that we conducted that indicated that campus staff wanted senators to focus their time on presenting staff-originated suggestions and thoughts and concerns, with the top priority being increasing staff morale. So the Senate body elected to have the goals of improving communication, whether that's from President's Cabinet to staff executives, Senate executives, and from Senate to staff, or between our mutual, senates between faculty, student, and staff senates, as well as enhancing staff morale and engagement, and then finally to review and update our bylaws. So all those three are our goals for this year. Staff conversations. One way that we're working to improve communication is we added staff conversations to our agenda with the President's Cabinet. So those are topics that come up from the ranks, so to say. There are questions or concerns or suggestions even that came from our staff members coming to senators, and then we rely those on to President's Cabinet. Some of the recent topics have included like staff appreciation ideas, details about the voluntary retirement incentive program, and then inquiries about procedures for COVID-19. The next item is our Campus Beautification Day that we hosted. That was done a few days before the fall semester began. And we had staff, faculty, administration, as well as student athletes join in on that. It was a very long and hot evening that we painted lion paws along the roadways on the university. We made welcome back signs for all the main campus entrances. There is talk of doing another one of those beautification days perhaps in the spring, as well as making it an annual occurrence. So you might see some of us out there in January or whenever painting or doing something. But then there's the quarterly service award champs. We do that on a quarterly basis, first, second, and third quarters of the year. The second quarter of recipients are Martha Freeman, who's an administrative assistant from academic outreach, and then Jim Harchie and Jeff Pooley, who are both with IT. We'll start asking campus for nominations for the third quarter starting next month in October. And then the last item is that we voted to add the parliamentarian to our executive committee. That is something that had not been previously done, so we voted to do that for this year. And then I gave the task to the governance committee to rewrite the bylaws to include that in as a permanent appointment. And then at the very end, I've listed our staff senate, because some of the staff senators have changed over the last couple of months.
Thank you, Ms. Scott-Smith. Are there any questions from the Staff Senate President? And thanks to all the staff and the Staff Senate for all you do to make the campus pretty and make it run every day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is our Student Senate President, who, welcome, Ms. Haley Ward.
Hi. This is my first time meeting some of you. If you don't know me, like she said, my name is Haley Ward, and I'm a pre-med biology major, and I'm also the president of Student Senate. So my report's going to be short and sweet. So we've had about only 2 meetings, and our second meeting will be tonight. We will be swearing them in. Our current executive officers are Brent Olson as treasurer, and he's the head of the finance committee. We have Madison Nagel, who is the vice president and the head of campus development. And then we have Chloe Hendrick, who is our campus relations director and also the secretary of our Senate. And we are looking forward to having a great year with you guys. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Ms. Ward? Thank you, and we're just glad to have all the students back, and thank you for being here today.
We are very glad to be back.
Now it's time for our committee reports. We had 4 committees that had meetings, and we'll hear first from the chair of the ad hoc committee we had for this semester and this year for the time being. Governor Gibbs.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, Chairwoman Hirschway appointed this committee midsummer in Pasco in consultation with the university's COVID task force, investigate and review methods and contingencies to accomplish the university's mission safely, effectively, and efficiently during the COVID pandemic. Governors Morgan, Rosenberg, Richard, and I serve as members of the committee. Since our last board meeting on July 23, the committee has met twice. We met August 21 via conference call. Governors Hirschway, Plotnick, and Haley were also on the call. The purpose of that meeting was to hear an update from the administration after the first week of classes. And we heard reports from quite extensive report from Mr. Fullerton, and he covered pretty much all of the areas of the campus. We also heard reports and updates from Dr. Van Galen, Mr. Hughes, Dr. Wingert, and Ms. Stamps, and all questions of the committee and its guests were dealt with appropriately. Then we met again this week on Monday via conference call. Chairwoman Hirschway was also on the call. The primary purpose of that meeting was to review and provide comments to the task force on a set of contingency plan guiding principles that are being developed by the task force. And in a nutshell, the goal of this contingency planning is to provide a framework to continue to deliver on our mission while keeping the health, physical well-being of students, faculty, and staff in the forefront. The committee had a few questions and comments on the draft document for the task force's consideration. And in addition, we heard, again, reports from and updates from Mr. Fullerton, Dr. Van Galen, Ms. Stamps, Mr. Hughes, and Ms. Leesmeister. And again, all questions of the committee and the guests were dealt with appropriately. So while I was preparing for this report, I thought I'd look up the term lion-hearted, and the first definition I came across I thought was most fitting. It says brave and determined. So this has been said many times, but I haven't got to say it. So on behalf of the committee, I want to commend the members of the task force for their commitment and diligence in dealing with this pandemic. They are lion-hearted lions. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Governor Gibson. Are there any questions for Governor Gibson from other board members? No actions required.
No action. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from the chair of the Personnel and Compensation Committee, Governor Elliott.
Personnel Compensation Committee met this morning and closed the executive session under revised Missouri statutes 610.021 subsection 3. And I'll provide a report of that for balance of the Board of Governors this afternoon at the executive session following our regular meeting.
Thank you, Governor Elliott.
No action was taken.
Next is Academic Affairs, Governor Oplotnik.
Academic Affairs meeting met today, and on the board that is president of part of this committee is Governor Morgan, Governor Hirschway, Governor Rosenberg, and myself. We had 3 items that we reviewed. We looked at an academic policy, and we did have a request for a motion to support pushing back the single course withdrawal date to the Monday of the last full week of classes, consistent with the total withdrawal rate. So there was a policy in place that didn't allow students to withdraw from a class. It withdrew them from their full schedule, and so it was recommended that we approve this policy, and that did pass today in the meeting. Our second item was student registration update. The policy was currently that advisors had to talk to a student before they could register for a class. They had to meet with their advisor, and it seemed to, with the COVID situation and everything online, didn't seem to flow very smoothly. So the academic leadership recommended that we have self-registration, that we would continue that until further notice, which would allow a student to register online without actually meeting with their advisor, either in person or via phone, to complete their registration. So that's in place for the time being right now, along with the checks and balances that the academic advisors still follow in checking back with students to make sure that they do at least get a visit and a look over their schedules. And then last was Dr. Carson provided us with the academic program overview, which listed the most popular freshman majors, the top 18 currently at the university, and what those subjects were as far as majors, and then the largest majors with the most students enrolled. She also listed the top 18, and also the fastest growing majors here at the university. So it was a nice summary, and I know a lot of work went into providing this information to the committee. And if any board members that weren't in the Academic Affairs Committee wanted to see that list, I'm sure Dr. Carson has a few of those extra and could share that with the group. So our only action, to summarize, was we did have a motion and approval to support pushing back the withdrawal process and policy. And that's my report.
So are there any questions for Governor Oplotnik? And if there's no question, it's my understanding that the Academic Affairs Committee is requesting full board approval of the new policy to push back the single course withdrawal date to the Monday of the last full week of classes. The Academic Affairs Committee approved that upon the recommendation of the administration, and now I would entertain a motion from the board for full board approval of that policy.
So moved.
I have a first from Governor Oplotnik. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Governor Rosenberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion is passed. Thank you, Dr. Carson. Last but certainly not least, our Budget Committee met this morning, and Governor Haley will deliver that report.
Thank you, Governor Hirschway. So yes, the Budget and Audit Committee met this morning. Good news is, we met first item to get a budget update, and kind of all the hard work from the finance team and the administration and President's Cabinet to help put this budget together, we are currently on track for the budget that we've set. So that's on a positive note. So we'll continue to monitor that throughout the course of the year, because you recall when we approved the budget, we've set a marker of in 6 months, we will identify if we need to adjust the budget as needed. So as of right now, we are on track. So that's a positive trend. Talked a little bit about the CARES Act funding and the things that we need to do to get submission for reimbursements. And so continue to track and monitor that and waiting on the supplement from the government so we can make sure we have all the needed documentation to complete that. And then we got updates on the voluntary retirement incentive program, and then had a little discussion that we'll continue to work on. As everyone know, minimum wage goes up next year, so we'll start crunching numbers to see what that budget impact will be moving forward. And I think Linda's already talked about the annual financial audit is going well. So those are the primary items from the Budget and Audit Committee meeting today. We have no items that need approval.
Okay, were there questions from any board members that weren't able to attend the budget meeting from Governor Haley? The next item is to address any old business. I don't know of any old business. Does anyone else have any old business they need to bring forward? And as far as new business then, I think I jumped the gun and shoehorned that in after the Academic Affairs Committee report, but it would be the consideration of the academic policy proposals that Dr. Carson.
That was it.
Thank you. Is there any other new business that this board needs to consider today? I don't know of any. You'll see the future meeting dates there, and I believe that commencement is still being worked on, and Mr. Bulletin and his committee are working on those details. I just heard in passing the other day, so that would be on our calendar also for December something. I'm sure our secretary, Ms. Boyd, will let us know that. And then we do have need today to go into a closed executive session for a couple of topics. So I would entertain a motion under 610-021, subsection 1, having to do with receiving legal advice, and subsection 3 having to do with employment matters. We need to have a motion and a second, and then the secretary.
So moved.
I heard a motion from Governor Morgan. Is there a second? Second from Governor Elliott. Take the roll then.
Yes.
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Marianne Morgan?
Yes.
Anita Oplotnik?
Yes.
Ron Richard?
Yes.
Dr. Rosenberg?
I think he had to leave for a medical appointment today. So with that, we will go into executive session, and that will be held in room 309. I think I got this wrong last time. Do we move to adjourn now
No, you do it.
or after the executive session? Do we adjourn now or after executive session? After. Thank you.